Hello, everybody. Welcome to UGA Sports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I am joined by Jim Donnan, the former Georgia Bulldogs head coach, member of the Collegiate Football Hall of Fame, and the number one reason everybody's tuning in to UGA Sports on a Tuesday at noon. We appreciate him being with us, making time. And, of course, we have Dayne Young also back there running the boards and bringing up all the stuff in your comments. If you have questions, today is a good day to put your questions into the comments section. I'm going to charge Dayne to watch the comment section like a hawk and to add those questions to our litany of ones that have already been submitted by our UGAsports.com readers. It was a mostly quiet Easter Sunday until about 8 o'clock, Coach. And then I don't want to say all hell broke loose because that would be a little sacrilegious, but things got a little wild in the transfer portal. Georgia had back-to-back commits. And I kind of want to get your thoughts on some of those guys because I will say this about Coach to folks who don't know him.
Sure.
He won't say it, but people from all over the country call and get his opinion. He is the best talent handicapper in the known universe. So if he tells you kid's good, kid's good. So, Coach, I want to get your thoughts. I'll start with Elo Modozie. This is a kid from Army, and we had a couple questions from folks come in saying, what can you tell us about the kid from Army? How do you transfer from there? And Elo Modozie, outside edge defender, 6.5 sacks last year. What can you tell us about him?
Well, first of all, quality young man, coming from Army, and he's got a lot of stats and everything. But the thing that impresses me about him is his wingspan. I think he's got either 81 or 83-inch wingspan, which lets you know that he's got some serious leverage playing on the edge. A guy that can move around a little bit. One of the things Coach Schumann does with our defense is move guys from linebacker to end and then move them inside. And he's got that kind of versatility. As far as the Army transfer, I don't know if you have to pay back any of the money that, they invest in you, because you make a salary and all that. But I'm not sure how that works because it's through the, armed forces. I don't know how that works. But I do think that we certainly would have enough money to help him pay it back if he needs to. But I will share this. The one thing that I always like to see somebody on the eyeball test. And it was just a random situation that I had no clue that anybody was in town or anything like that. But usually when my daughter's here, we go up to a local place to eat breakfast. And Saturday morning went up there, and I just so happened they had several recruits in, among which he was one of them. And he was there with his mother and dad and I think a sister, I'm not sure, but very impressive. I made certain not to go over there and mess around with them or anything and, break any rules, but definitely pass the eyeball test. I'm talking about whether everybody knows I have a situation with my eye and I'm trying to work on it, but even Ray Charles picked this guy up. I mean, he's eyeball take, and I was very impressed with just watching his mannerisms and watching his interactions with the coach. You can see a guy that has got that kind of enthusiasm and just listening to everything and watching his, just body language was really good from my standpoint. So I've watched him a little bit on tape and everything, but based on just watching the guy act, how he acted around Coach Schumann and Chidera, and also Jimmy Brumball's in there now. Jimmy played at Auburn and had a good little visit with him on the side. Really glad he's here to help Trey Scott. So, and of course, Angela was up there taking care of everybody, and she's got it all set up for those recruits when they come in. And shout out to her. She's getting married here in a couple of weeks, so I hope she stays with the Georgia program.
Oh, man, that is a lucky guy right there. Angela is fantastic, one of the best in the whole recruiting industry.
Coach, what are the chances that when Georgia was reviewing Notre Dame game tape for the college football playoff, when the analysts are doing that, that's how Elo gets on their radar, or is this something that they see this long beforehand?
Well, randomly it could have happened. You watch a guy and say, "Lord, this guy's really doing a good job." But they got a system in place where they check out guys around the country all the time, every week. They got 2 or 3 people over there just looking at players for position of need, and that situation's just because of not only the graduation, but the early entry into the draft, whatever it might be. That's a position of need for us, and the fact that we lost a kid to really good player to Missouri. So I think you probably could spot that out that he played well, but they really do a good job of monitoring all the guys around the country, and they're ready to roll. You better be ready when a portal hits, because you see how many of these guys hit the portal and then right away make a decision. So you better be doing your homework.
A lot of people asked when Georgia got Elo Modozie, they said, well, does that take Bo Atkinson off the table? Bo Atkinson, the defensive end, outside linebacker, edge player for the University of North Carolina. And my take, Coach, was you need him
right now. They're not taking him off the board. Here's the deal. This guy's just not going to jump in here and come here right away because he got such big offers. I mean, and certainly Elo had him too, but this guy, I mean, he's got Ohio State jumping all over him, and you can't blame him for making some visits. We just happened to get the first one, and I certainly want to respect you and not jump in there, but I know enough to know about this situation that because Mac Brown had told me about the kid, because I noticed it right off the bat that we were looking at him. So I called Mac, and he was really fired up about the kid. He's from Raleigh area, but his mom and dad went to UConn. His dad was a football player there, and his mom was a soccer player. And then he got a job down in the Research Triangle, and they moved down there. And he was a good player for Carolina, and another player that's flexible enough to play in other areas of our defense, depending on the package. And again, without saying too much, passed the eyeball test too, because he was the first kid I saw when I went in there. And I usually don't eat very long there. I'm in and out. I mean, it's almost like a drive-through.
I've seen you.
It's almost like a drive-through for me, but I was on the 4 corners. I was stalling just to kind of look at them, and of course, I had a chance to talk. You don't get to see the coaches much, and they're in between recruits, waiting for the next guy, and it's always good to see the coaches and just talk about things. But I just can't divulge too much, but it's not fair. But I do feel like I can say what I have, and I will say this about this kid. You talk about 2 outgoing parents now. That family there, they know what they want. They got a plan in place, and certainly as soon as I texted Mac about seeing him, he was happy, and the parents mentioned to me, I had a chance to just say hello to him walking out the door. It was a bump, I mean, it just kind of
it's legal. Hey, it's in public.
Casual. There's nothing illegal about saying, hey, you're from North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. I went to school back there. I know where you live, everything about you. And, really, really glad Kirby will develop you, and you can get with Schumann, and he'll work on you playing different positions. Look at all the guys we got moved up in the draft and what we can do. And we really need you. You understand? So
that is one hell of a professional bump.
I said all that and was doing some sign language behind my back to the mother, too. So it was good.
Folks, that's why he's the best. Coach came up in the time where you weren't allowed to talk to a junior, but you could bump into him. And, as you're doing that little shaking hands, you got to get your message in quick. That is
I just think that
right there, baby.
I think legality-wise, it's not the fact that when you can talk to them and not. It's just, I'm sure that's considered on campus, and I can talk to a kid on campus. But I didn't want to. I don't ever want to do anything but congenial and take. I don't have anything to do with recruiting over there except
No, you were
occasionally,
just there and you knew him from North Carolina.
particularly when some of my older players, like I just want to throw this out. David Jacobs and Hap Hines last night were among the people that were recognized by the local Georgia Hall of Fame. That's part of the National Football Foundation, and boy, it makes your heart warm when you see these young men that what they've done with their lives. Particularly David, from the standpoint he had that horrific stroke that really changed his life and changed his football career. But everybody out there knows he's got a son coming up that, I mean, come on, man. I mean, what a player he's going to be. And he was there last night with David, just probably the best looking person in the room, going to be a junior. And then, of course, Hap was a great kicker for me and had his whole family there. And they were so proud. And, he got up and he and David both made nice speeches. But that's part of, like I was telling my kids last night, I sent them a kind of a group text. It always makes you feel good as a coach to see guys and see what they've done and, keep up with them. But also just the fact that they still call you coach, that makes it all worthwhile. But two really productive people that had forks in the road with their lives that compared to others, and the fact that Hap lost his dad unexpectedly a couple years ago in a terrible wreck. And then, the fact that David had that situation and the way the Georgia family reached out to David and just makes you, I mean, I'm sure the other programs have that, but the way everybody just backed him and has backed him throughout his life here, just incredible. And I still remember going in his grandmom's house and on the home visit, me and Rodney Garner, and what a bunch of love they had in that family. And it was one of the best home visits I ever had because all that grandma wanted me to do is just say I was going to take care of him. I did all I could, and then Coach Rick did it after that. But I'm not trying to do anything except recognize them. And I know I'm talking a lot here, but hey, I got a little platform here, and I'm proud of the Georgia people of the way they backed David through this situation. And I think that'll make a lot of difference here in the recruitment of his son, just the fact that the way he was treated. And I mean, really, this guy's probably going to be one of the top 3 players in the country as a 27 class.
Yeah, we don't have him in the top. I don't think we don't have him in the top 3, but we should. He's we saw him at the Under Armour camp in Atlanta, and the kid is lights out. He played all over the place. David kind of gave us a little bit of ribbon that we didn't have him high enough, and I'm like, well, dude, you're right. You're absolutely right. But again, that's what Elo Modozie's parents, saw. That's what Bo Atkinson's parents saw. They know that community. They saw it when they came to town this past weekend. And apparently a couple other guys saw it, and they were impressed as well. But Bo, it's Georgia still wants him really badly get it because they desperately need the talent and the bodies at that outside linebacker group. That is a thin spot. I think they would take 3 if they could find them. And we got a lot of questions about that. But I mentioned 2 of the other guys who were on the visit this past weekend. 2 of them also committed. And I want to get your thoughts, Coach, on Josh Horton, a defensive lineman out of Miami. Big boy out of Langston Hughes, had an offer from Georgia when he was in high school. They tried to get him. He committed to Miami. Now it looks like he's coming back home.
Yeah, as much as I've been telling you about what I know about those other guys, I know nothing about this guy. I haven't done any research on him, or I know much. So anything you want on him, go ahead and talk about it.
Give me this. To me, Josh Horton, he's got his big body. Give me any lineman out of Langston Hughes, Coach. Give me anybody
exactly.
Give me anybody there.
The fact that we recruited him early and didn't get him gets you the opinion that he's been evaluated in camp and everything else. So he's on on your radar. And we've talked about on this show forever about, hey, there's nothing you can do once a guy goes. if he's solid and he's leaving, the only thing you make sure you don't step on any family toes or the kids' toes, because you never know if you're going to get them on the rebound. I mean, a lot of times that happens, and particularly a Georgia kid that leaves to go out of state. So it's obvious Trey and Kirby and staff knew about him, and that's a need position as far as just bodies. And we talked about thousands of times of big guys that are can run and they're thick, that they're hard to come by. And if you look at the MO of Miami linemen over years, you just think about all the guys that have played there. That tradition really helps Miami. They get guys on that, the fact that they've had guys like Warren Sapp and Jerome Brown over the years, just run stoppers. I mean, so for us to take a transfer, the guy's got to be high on the list. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be a need for us that he can play, and a need for that kid that he feels like he can play, because it takes a lot of strength on the recruit's part to come into this situation. You better have some self-confidence, because you're making that leave from another place and you're jumping into one of the top 2 or 3 places in the country. So you better have a good feeling about your ability to step in here and play. So I like that too. And usually those guys don't make mistakes, the ones that transfer here. And then the running back, I remember back when I was watching Illinois play South Carolina in the bowl game, and this guy was just a real thumper, man. I mean, he just hit the pile up in there and, got way over 100 yards rushing against a good South Carolina defense. When you think about the way they stopped Clemson and the way they played all year, one of the better defenses in the country. So, and you got to think that, power back is a position of need here. We certainly got some guys that can play, but this guy will be, a good addition to the room for us.
Yeah, Josh McCray, was one of the top running backs at Illinois. Absolute, I don't call him a bowling ball, but he's big. He's a big guy, 6'1", 235, like you say. Watching that game against South Carolina, he just ran over people. I mean, it looked like a power back at the University of Georgia. I'm not trying to be facetious there or say, shallow, but just watching him, I'm like, damn, that looks like how Nick Chubb used to run. That looks like how Kendall Milton run guys over. It just he fit the mold, so to speak. He's got the body type, and Georgia did lose Branson Robinson to the portal, which left him a man short. Rod Robinson should be healthy. I'm told he looks fantastic. He should be ready to go. But again, there's not a lot of production in that room. You got Nate Frazier, who's just a sophomore. Rod, who played some. Cash Jones, doesn't get that many carries. I think that he had 24 receptions and 14 carries. But, add those together, that's still not a lot. Losing Trevor Etienne, you got to have somebody with experience. This is a guy with experience, and he's played SEC teams. So I think this was a huge pickup, Coach.
Yeah, I think what happens here too is you bring in a guy that's played in a very competitive league and have been successful, but he's played in an offense similar to ours. Illinois, Brett Bielema was the coach. We saw him at Arkansas. He ran the Jim Chaney offense there. We don't necessarily run the Chaney anymore, but we have semblance of it with the Monken and all. But the guy knows how to pass protect, which is all, that's number 2 for us, running ability. I don't know how you would rate him, but you got to be able to step up in there and not just be a one down back. You got to be every down back. And I think if I'm him, I'm looking at Georgia, it's an established team, chance to, with all the guys that have been drafted here, a chance to go to the league, play on a championship team. And I've already proven I can do it against SEC defenses. So it's a good fit. And I think in the case of Branson, it's just, the guy probably just needs a new lease on life. I mean, just things hadn't worked out here injury-wise. He's a good kid, great attitude, and a very similar back. I mean, big, strong guy. but 2 knee injuries, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I know that the mention right now is that Nitro Tuggle's going to go to Purdue, but we got Chris Peel hit the transfer portal. Maybe Fran Brown pick him up because he recruited him here and he's at Syracuse. But in the case of Peel, it's just a situation that Kirby, everybody worries about. You can talk to a kid all you want, hey, you're going to play, but, you haven't played yet. So, and a lot of that's just been he's had the really tough luck on the injuries, whether it be his legs or his shoulder. But fast kid that tried to convert to being a defensive back, a running back in high school. And I knew it was going to be tough to keep all these kids. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Playing time wise, you can talk all you want to, but he also looks out there and sees those guys we got, and he also sees we brought in 2 transfers at that position too, and the kid from Miami and the kid from UAB. So you got to be – let's don't get too down because we're losing Peel, but I like to have kept him. I think he's got a lot of potential.
You just sweet on North Carolina guys, Coach.
Well, maybe so, but I'm sweet on anybody can play. But
I think Chris Peel is good, and I think he'd be fantastic with Fran Brown again.
Yeah, I think certainly, he's going to play, with a Power 5 school. He'll get on the field, but we just got a lot of good competition out here. I'm surprised we have lots more guys.
A couple intangibles. Go ahead, Radi.
No, go ahead.
Okay. A couple of the intangibles I wanted to mention about McCray, Coach, because it really lives up to what Kirby Smart said about how he wants to use the transfer portal. 1, he graduated from Illinois, and 2, he hasn't transferred anywhere else. He's been very stable there for 4 years, and you're not seeing Georgia pick up the guys going in their 3rd and 4th homes at some point. And I'd even wondered, again, how does a guy like this get on Georgia's radar? If you're from Enterprise, Alabama, and you have 5 SEC offers, Del McGee knew about this dude a long time ago. And, I'm sure that Georgia has known who he is. And to see him get a little bit better each year at Illinois, this opportunity comes up.
Good point about being on the radar. And I will add this now that Dell's gone from here. One of his biggest deals in the May recruiting area evaluation was, usually speaking, he was pretty close to having a guy committed or looks like the guy's going to come here. And one of his main goals on the road, running back wise, was to evaluate the in-between guys that he didn't take in case they got in a portal. So he'd have that look at them in person and also have the, put it on his radar that, look, if we need a guy, this guy here, I saw him practice. I met him. I know what he's like. Because if you just jump to the situation there, and let's just say that Roddy goes in the portal and he has no relationship with this school at all, as compared to, hey, I met Coach McGee. I really liked him, and he did a good job recruiting me or talking to me, and he told me that we couldn't take him, but we might, if things worked out in the portal, we might be able to, whatever it might be, okay? So that's one thing that Kirby has a staff do, because the tape is one thing, and we talk about the camp evaluations, that means a lot too. Well, the same thing's true with this evaluation on the in-between people. If they do hit the portal, then you know what they're all about.
I also like a guy that runs behind his pads, low, hits, has great body lean, hits the line of scrimmage like a ton of bricks. And what did Kirby Smart say their number 1A and 1B issues were this spring? He says, we want to run the ball and stop the run. Give me a guy who's proven that he can run it, put him behind that offensive line, some tight ends out there. And Georgia had issues. I mean, Coach, you've pointed out relentlessly how many times Georgia either, the defense really didn't set them up for a lot of success, but 3rd and short. Got to get that 3rd down, get a new series of downs. So I'm like, bring in a guy who's done it. So I think that's a fantastic get. And to kind of close up the transfer portal talk, I want to mention Josh Horton, you know who reminds me of? I think could work out really well. It should work. It could work out like Xavier McLeod. Josh Horton didn't play a whole lot last year. He got injured at Miami. He only played 5 games. Had a similar situation with Xavier McLeod. McLeod comes on for Georgia this spring looking really good. So a couple guys getting second chances at Georgia, and Trey Scott is a developer. So I think this is a nice get.
Yeah, I like that.
Josh McCray and Josh Horton. Good job.
Yeah, I like that analogy there because McLeod really has come on working hard. And the one thing that we talk about is the practice going against good players. And, you develop better technique and you get coached up. And a trend now in coaching, which I like, that we might share here is, the rule that was passed last year that analysts can now help on the field. It used to be you can't do anything but watch practice and give information, but now it's kind of like the pros. If you just go to any website and look at the pros, they'll have the quarterback coach, the assistant quarterback coach, the quarterback coach that brings the balls on the field, the quarterback coach one after another, all these positions. And here at Georgia now, we've had some analysts that really are very capable guys that were outstanding coaches like Streeter, guys everywhere. But now they can not only practice with the guys on the field, but these walkthroughs, instead of having just another group standing around while somebody's walking through, you can get another group over there with the coach and do the same thing and get that mental rep and get really fortified about knowing what to do. So when you look at our O-line, we brought this guy in from the Jaguars, and then we got Warren Erickson helping with technique. He's behind the scenes with those younger guys, pushing them in the butt and saying, look, keep your head up, all that. So you got 3 line coaches working with them and working, 3 times as much instead of 1 time. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing's true, bringing Jimmy Brumbaugh in, a veteran defensive line coach. Been a lot of places, coaching the SEC, just came in here from Coastal Carolina. But here you got Trey Scott, and then Trey said, hey, take this group over here and work on breaking up the double team or whatever it might be. But I don't want to harp on this too long, except the fact that's going to really help you as far as your player development. I think having more coaches spread out to do some of these in between fundamentals.
Yeah. We did we mention last week or week before that John Lilly's back on staff?
Yeah. John Lilly's here helping with the tight ends, kind of running full circle here. Hartley was a student assistant for him back in the days. And now
cracks me up.
Now John's, but boy, tremendous recruiter, great individual. He'll be a big plus for us. And he's a really special teams phenom too. He's one of the first guys that was designated as a special teams guy that I can remember back when Coach Rick was here. And so he'll be a big help to Benedict and those people over there as far as helping with the special teams.
Imagine that special teams.
He called plays for a couple of games in between coordinators, right?
Yeah, he called that game up in Charlotte when they laid a lot of yards on old Todd Grantham.
Yeah, and that was Nick Chubb running wild for like 260 yards.
I never will forget. Bobo had left to go to Colorado State, and they were in the mix of trying to decide who they're going to hire before they hired Schottenheimer. And Bobo just told Lilly, said, hey, just get one of those practice scripts that we use for the scrimmage and go out there and kick his ass.
I ran into John Lilly after that game. I've never seen a smile so wide.
It was great. They beat Louisville, right?
Yes, sir. It was brilliant. He's one of the best out there. All right, before we move on to a bunch of the questions here, I'm going to mention some of our sponsors. I want to start off with Athens Ford. This is a big deal. What is going on with Athens Ford? They have their employee pricing. In other words, you pay what they pay. This is across any of their trucks and SUVs. So if you want a Bronco, you want a Ford F-150, you want an Expedition, Explorer, something like that, you can get what the factory workers at Ford, the bottom line, you get the same bottom line that they do. So if you want a Ford, now is the best time ever to get one. Now, of course, you can go by Athens Ford and get any of their new or pre-owned vehicles, and you get the lifetime powertrain warranty and all that good stuff. I mean, the Expeditions are up to $15,000 off, you know. They got deals on the Escapes and such like that. But I'm telling you, as nice as it would be to go get one of their used or pre-owned vehicles, the fact that you can get a truck or SUV at employee pricing, it's not going to happen again. It's just, I mean, and you'll hear people say, "Oh yeah, we got employee pricing going on." That's some BS. This is what the Ford factory folks pay. My dad worked at GMC. I know the difference between when somebody does some kind of stunt with it versus when they're doing something real. And this is the real thing. So jump on it when you get a chance. I also want to mention our friends at myperfectfranchise.net. This is a great company founded by Andy Luedecke, who got into the franchise business doing dumpsters, porta-johns, roof. I mean, you name it, the guy got into it. And he saw how easy it was. And he saw how little information there was. And he said, look, I want to help people do the same thing. I'm going to help them do it for free. And he does. Now, he does get a commission from the or some sort of deal with the people who he signs them up with. But again, for what you're getting, you know, it doesn't cost you anything to reach out to him. So reach out to Andy Luedecke at myperfectfranchise.net. You'll be very, very glad you did so. And last but not least, I want to mention our friends at the Rogue Shop. If you have troubles with pain, if you have troubles with sleeping, reach out. You know, especially if you have chronic insomnia, reach out to the Rogue Shop. They will help you. If you have chronic pain, like a certain person has a knee issue, reach out to the Rogue Shop and they can help you with your pain issues. So check them out. They are fantastic people. Big Texas fans. So don't hold that against them. Richard he's also a vet. He's a good guy, even if he is a Texas fan. So yeah, I see Coach shaking his head. That's it for me.
At least he's not Oklahoma State.
Yeah, he's not a little brother. He's just a Texas fan. But
how about that mentioning Todd Grantham? He's at Oklahoma State now.
He's defense coordinator there.
Yeah.
I will give him credit. The man prepares like nobody ever.
He does. I can tell you the first defensive call of the game. Who's their first game against? We'll figure. This is the first defensive call of the game.
Yeah.
The players are going to be looking for the call because he's trying to get it in there, but we don't know, Coach.
UT Martin is the first game.
They play who?
UT Martin.
All right. I got to go with the Cowboys in that one.
Yeah. When people would ask me about Todd Grantham and his tenure, especially when he went down to Florida, I said, look, I'll put it to you this way. One of the smartest football players I ever met in my entire year, and I gave him hell for years. The entire time he was here, I teased Christian Robinson, linebackers coach, Alabama. Teased him when he was a player here. We were close. We got close during the recruiting coverage. Loved the guy. And remember, Alec Ogletree was here as well. And I will give Todd Grantham credit for moving Alec Ogletree from safety up to linebacker. Says, look, you want to make millions of dollars, you got to get closer to the ball. The man knows football. Give him credit.
Definitely. He's a very good coach. Just during the game, sometimes a little slow on the calls.
That was it. They had so many calls that Chris Robinson said, I was having a hard time keeping up with all the different calls. And he didn't say this, but I thought from him to some of the other guys in that defense, I'm like, if Christian was having a hard time to remember what all helped, the 50 different calls they had, some of those other guys must have been really struggling. And that's why you saw the hands go up like that. So,
yeah, I mean, he put some defenses in on Friday afternoon on the walkthrough. He'd had them. I mean,
that's exactly what Christian said. He said, look,
trying to stop everything, but that's okay. But I got to tell this joke because I don't get to very often. But you know why he left the Saints and went to Stillwater. His wife said she wanted to move as far away from college football as she could, so they moved to Stillwater.
Oh, that's cold.
I mean, that's an old joke, but I love it every time, especially talking about the Cowboys.
Yeah. So,
hey, Coach, it's the week of the NFL draft, and you read all kinds of reports right now, and you see the jockeying being done by these general managers of will the Browns trade a pick or the Giants open to trading down. I know you're going to be plugged into watching the draft, but I'm just curious if anything has struck your interest once we get a day or two from this, whether it's the Georgia guys or otherwise.
I tell you two things, and I'm not sure what Malachi's doing, but I know for the fact that Jalen Walker's not going to go and be in the green room. He's going to have a deal at his own house because Coach Schumann told me that he was going. I asked if he's going to the draft. He said he knows going to Jalen's house. And I think that's just emblematic of what kind of kid he is, share it with his family and be a part of it. And same thing for Michael. I don't think Michael's going. He could be, but from what I heard, he's not going either. So I remember when Champ decided to stay there and had that celebration there in Folkestone where everybody's together. And, it just each person's got to do what they need to. And Malachi's family guy too. I'm not sure. Doesn't mean you're not if you go to the green room, because that's certainly. But those are the three highest draft rated guys we got, and unfortunately, there's juniors, so you could have them another year, but that's just the way it is.
Tate Ratledge, Jared Wilson, and Smile Munden. Looking at the final mock drafts, multiple. We do a listing of all the mock drafts and where the Georgia players are listed in those. Shout out to Patrick Garvin. Tate Ratledge is listed anywhere from the second to the fourth round. Jared Wilson from the second and third round, more on the third than the second. Smile Munden is the third or fourth round. Of course, a bunch of guys after that. Let's see, you got Dylan Fairchild looking at the fifth, sixth, or even third round. Arian Smith in the sixth or seventh. Trevor Etienne, sixth or seventh or fifth. Warren Brinson and Nazir Stackhouse mentioned in the sixth and seventh rounds as well. So could have a lot of Georgia players drafted.
You got Lovett. Where's he?
Don't miss him.
No, I don't think he's on that list.
Yeah, well, let me just say this, that all these guys any team will be glad to have them because they know how to work. They've been trained. They know the pro game, and they'll help your squad. It's going to be a good draft for Georgia to have that many guys go. But the one thing about the O-linemen, there's just a lot of linemen. I mean, you're already talking about the kid from Louisiana, LSU, and the one from Texas being really high on the list. And so once you get over those first round guys, then I think Tate and certainly and the other guys will fall in there pretty quick.
What's the biggest difference in the pro game and the college game right now, Coach? Like if these players came to ask you, what should I be expecting for next season? What would you tell them?
Can't make as much money in the pros early, especially women's pro basketball. These girls are sticking around making a lot of money because they got it. But I think that was a joke. But I would just say just the lifestyle. I mean, you don't go to class. It's a job now. You got to. Every day is, preparation for the next game. And it's a big jump up in competition. Even though we got good competition here, every team has the same kind of skill level. Certain teams have the extra in the quarterback that they got. But so scientific now, all these things they check you out on. And you got to really, really be a dumbass to draft badly now. I mean, I don't know how you can make a bad draft unless you just don't do the prep, because you can really evaluate them. I mean, all these things they can do to check them out and project them. It's pretty impressive.
I know we have a bunch of questions to get to. I don't want to be shorthanded on that. So,
yeah, you want to start with the ones from UGASports.com and then get over to yours?
Sure. Works for me.
From Keeper Dog, is there a sustainable model where the NCAA with football and basketball, they stay together under the same umbrella. Is it the desire of university leadership and the college football playoff and the men's basketball tournament to keep everyone together? I know you have more UGA specifics, but I'm curious if you have any contacts around the NCAA that can tell us what's being said behind closed doors.
Yeah, I mean, they're working. I mean, it's just a different model that's changed dramatically 3 years ago because of the money that's involved now. And they're working hard to get if you just read about it, they're working hard to get a model where, they can have something that is sustainable, because if you just keep on going as far as open bidding, then it's going to eliminate so many teams. But they're working hard on that, and the commissioners are meeting together, and I don't know what they're going to come up with, but definitely it's better than it was, and hopefully we'll have the thing that I worry about is cutting out the opportunity for so many of these walk-ons. If everybody keeps up with the fact that if you come down to 105, you're eliminating about 20, 25 players on your team. And where are they going to go? Because the other teams don't have any room for them either. I mean, probably going to have to go down to 1AA or D3 or whatever, D2. So I hope you can give them a place to play. And the other thing that I really hope is that we don't have to eliminate some other sports in some of these programs because of you taking all the money, putting it in football and basketball, and you just don't have the money to pay for these other sports to have scholarships and everything. And you can see just an influx of club sports at some of these schools because, for instance, we're getting ready to take $20 or $22 million out of our budget that we got from when I say Georgia, that we got from TV that was allotted to our overall budget, whether it would be scholarships or travel or whatever it might be for the entire program for all the things we do. And they're going to take that money and start paying players with that and spread it out among sports. But you're going to have to make that up to continue the same kind of budget you had. And how are you going to do that? I mean, it's going to be maybe more donations, more tickets. Who knows? But it's an issue.
I can see tickets going up. I can see parking going up, rights, for shows and stuff like that. If your daughter's worked in collegiate licensing forever, I can see all the licenses going up, for the branded gear. I mean, you're right. I do not want to be in Josh Brooks's shoes when it's like, okay, your budget was $100 million last year. Now it's 79, but still bring us all the services and all the things you did last year. Come up with $20 million. Oh, and it's going to be the same the year after and the year after. So,
but their budget's going to be 100, even though it's 79. They just don't have the revenue for 100. Yeah. That's what you're pointing out. I mean, they got to find a way to.
That's my point.
They're definitely working on that, and I would say for everybody just to make sure that you understand, even though that 22 or 20 million is going to go, there's still going to be some NIL opportunities for kids outside that realm, So the really good guys, they're going to get money other ways with, whether it's through a university deal, through our collective, or through an agent or so. But I think it's pretty cool to see some of these like Gatorade commercials now, and you see Juju Watkins and all these college players on them instead of just always pro guys. So pretty cool.
And I don't think anybody. Go ahead.
From Scuffletown Dog from Alma, Georgia, close to my hometown, says, Coach, we do these shows for a long time. I listen to every one of them. I don't think Roddy and Dayne would make it without you being there, which maybe so. But Scuffletown Dog wanted to know, what do you think Georgia's chances are to land Bo Atkinson, or is there someone that we're not talking about?
You mean the defensive end?
Yeah.
I think they're good. I mean, certainly we got competition. Anytime you're going against Ohio State, you're dealing with the same kind of issues as far as they're telling the same things we are, about playing at a championship level and getting developed. And, they made a change at defensive coordinator. Knowles went to Penn State, and they brought in this pro guy. So we'll see how that works. But based on what I saw when he was here, and I only saw him for 30 minutes there, seems really engaged about Georgia. And I always like it. People say you want them on the first visit or the last. I mean, there's some guys that I think in this NIL thing, I like to get them in here and have them everything they do compared to us, So I would say I don't know enough about it, but listening to Mac Brown and, I know his family likes it here, and it's a very similar situation as far as the town and everything about it, to Chapel Hill. So although Athens is a little bigger, but I will say this. This guy asked me a couple weeks ago about mouth watering. Was that who makes your mouth water? This kid from Army makes my mouth water.
Okay. Here we go. From UGA alum 95, we know what Nate Frazier can do. We know what Cass Jones can do. We just discussed McCray. What about the other running backs in that room? Bowens.
Yeah, I like the way Bowens has really developed. He was just a pure running back. He hadn't had to block like you do in college or catch balls, but he's made significant improvement here, and he had a good spring. And then the other kid that's really fast has got a role for us too. So I think, and then of course Bo Walker came out there and really had a good spring, and he took advantage of the opportunity of our, neither one of the Robinson guys out there. So I feel good about that room there. I feel it's and adding this kid in there, we're a lot better off going into fall camp than we were last year at this time, in my opinion.
Agreed 100%. Like Josh McCray, he's not the fastest guy out there, but again, you've got speed. You got Nate. You've got Peanut. You got guys who can get. I'm looking for that guy who breaks tackles. Just like people broken tackles for a first down.
Make the pile move. And, I've told you forever about talking to pro scouts and everything about backs, and they said, we're not that fired up about. Of course, it's great if a guy's got really super speed, but we need a guy that can make 4 yards.
Exactly.
You got to make first downs, and pros react to the ball, and they got swarming defense. It's just hard to break tackles up there and make the long run. You don't see many long runs in pro football. I mean, you just don't. And we didn't have many last year. That run by Etienne against Texas, probably the longest run we had all year, wasn't it?
I think you're right. Question from Big Sky Dog. Whenever I put these on Facebook, that's one of the first persons who jumps in and gives us a question. Coach, will we bring in a new quarterback? Transfer portal's open. He was the only one to ask that. A lot of people ask if Georgia would add a quarterback in the transfer portal.
I don't see us doing it, particularly with Curtis getting ready to commit one way or the other, hopefully here. But, we didn't show any signs of being lacking at quarterback, which might have made us feel like that. But I can't be 100% on that. But only thing I can say, if we do bring one in, there's a reason why we did. That's for sure.
It's fair. I mean, when the portal opened in the change of seasons, if you will, back in January, Georgia looked. They were looking at that kid from UNC Charlotte. They were looking at Deshaun Purdy. There were a couple guys that they wanted to get in, but
Mendoza,
but it wasn't like, hey, they tried, but they didn't put all their eggs in one basket and go after him, saying that we got to have it to get ahead. You needed the depth. You needed an extra body. Ryan Montgomery is still recovering. Carson Beck transfers away. You want a fourth scholarship guy. Millender's brand new, Hezekiah. Right. So they were looking, but right now there's not a lot of QBs in the transfer portal. You're not going to take one just to take one. So,
right.
I just don't see it happening. Big Sky.
Yeah, more than likely, I agree with that.
Yeah. Del Monaco, and this coach, I don't know if you saw this, but apparently there was a video going around of Trump's granddaughter, I think, talking to the Cavender twins, and they were talking about how they didn't like Carson Beck, and nobody liked him. And this person's asking, "Does people not like Carson Beck?" And I'm like, "I think some people did. Maybe some didn't." So the question is basically, how was Carson Beck looked at by his team?
First of all, you could ask me about 9 million things if I saw it, and I would say no, because all I count on is you or Dane or Brent Rollins sending me stuff once in a while and say, "Look at this," because I don't read that. But inexplicably this morning, I don't know how it happened. I was just kind of going through a couple things there, and this thing was on Twitter, and so I saw it and I listened to it, and it's like three little kids around, talking about, yeah, I didn't like him, blah 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 blah. But
Asshole ex-boyfriend, yeah.
But you just don't expect to hear stuff like that. But I was kind of interested in it. But Carson is a very different person, from not that outgoing, and everybody's got their own personality. I've never heard that he was disliked at all. He's just not one of those guys that moves around in a lot of different social patterns like some other guys outgoing. But really not fair to him for people to bag on him like that, I don't think.
When he got here, I knew that he was not the most social of guys, but I don't think that affected it obviously didn't affect his ability. He's a really good quarterback. He got a lot better from the day he showed up. So you don't have to be liked in the huddle to lead your team.
Yeah. I think it's just respect. He had that, and he did a good job for us. You look at what we were able to do. We were within a couple of plays of going all the way that first year, and look at all the games we won. But
look at that Tennessee game.
I'm not really big on bagging on people after the fact, but unless I really don't like them, then I'll just get on them real hard for you. But
unless they went to Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. If they go there, that is all no punches pulled. They
did find two guys at Oklahoma State last week. They've been playing hide and seek since 1964.
Hey, world champions, coach. World champions. Best hiders ever. Question from Carlton. Mike, what do you think of the new injury rules? Have you had a chance to see these, coach?
I like it. I get tired of seeing these guys. I think you got to put some teeth in it. The guy can't just lay down to stop the, clock and make the other team lose the momentum of hurrying up. I think it's a good rule.
The idea being, for folks that aren't familiar with this, they adopted a rule basically saying, if you are all of a sudden stricken by some amazingly, some injury after the ball's been set, put in play, if you will, or has been set, they set the ball down and the clock starts. If you go down after that, your team will be charged a timeout. If that happens, if you're out of timeouts, you'll be assessed a 5-yard penalty. I think everyone's like, "Oh, that's a great idea," until you get a tempo team and a kid goes down and it gives them an automatic first down or something. Then everyone's going to lose their mind. But I agree with you, coach. You got to do something. When you have guys on the sideline signaling the fake injuries.
Yeah, it's just not in the spirit of the game. It's just not. It's not what you're supposed to do rule wise.
Real quick, they're also getting rid of the overtime timeouts that Kirby used to fantastic effect, again, in that 8 overtime game against Georgia Tech, where basically when, every overtime comes around, each side gets one timeout. Now they're not going to do that as much. I don't like that. I know it takes longer on the game, but I think this the game's on the line. You should be able to call a timeout.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that, but certainly not going to be many 8 overtime. I guarantee you one thing that happened in the off season that probably every team in the country did based on that Georgia Tech game was work on 2-point plays instead of having one or two. I mean, they worked hard on it. I mean, you better be better at stopping the 2-point play and making the 2-point play the way the rules are now.
Well, and one rule here, this is small, but we're so used to when they review a play that they say either it's confirmed, which means that the video upheld it, it stands, they didn't have enough evidence, and now it's just going to be either it's upheld, whatever they said on the field, or it's overturned, they changed it. So it's not going to be, I guess the standard of video evidence is not going to be held up in the language in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, just how you call it. I don't know how they come up with stuff like that, but it's good though. I tell you, the video replay, one of the best things that ever happened.
I agree. I wish they'd had it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, 1999 been great.
Well, that's one of the reasons they got it was, people pointed to that case and said, this is BS. We got to have it. Big Barker says, can we run the ball better than last year? I was at G-Day and nothing made me feel like we improved in that area. Here's a speculation one for you, Coach.
That's a good question. And I wish I could say unequivocally we will, but there's a lot of factors why we didn't, and there's a lot of factors why we can, but it still remains. You got to block people. You got to read blocks as a back. You got to protect the perimeter as an outside receiver. You got to be able to kick people out as a guy in motion. And this all gets down to execution. So I would say the potential to be a good running team is there, but a lot of it's going to be based on how good we can throw the ball. If we throw the ball more effectively and catch it more effectively, then they've got to be more geared in to stop the pass, and that helps you on the run. Last year people stopped the run a little bit better against us because the pass didn't bother them as much.
G-Day is not a good reflection on running games. I wouldn't base anything off that. They're not trying to get guys hurt in G-Day.
Yeah, just for his what's his name? Big Barker?
Big Barker.
What is it?
Big Barker.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I like it.
But anyhow, the reason you don't see a lot of running is the coaches want to keep things spread out and avoid the pileups that occur in the running game. And you can keep the clock moving and going pretty quick and a lot of different ways. But the main thing is just try to create as much open field play as possible to avoid injuries. And that's why you don't see as many runs. But I would say, Big Barker, I'm going to go out on a limb here and stand on one leg and say, I would say 68 3/4 chance that we're going to be better running the game.
I'll hold you to it, Coach.
We're gonna whip out the stats at the end of the season to see if you're right. Question from Love UGA. He asked about he said, what can you tell me about the Army kid and how do you transfer from there? We answered that earlier. Tom to shine, not time, but Tom to shine. Are we looking at a quarterback in the portal? What's the latest on Jared Curtis? We mentioned that as well. The latest on Jared Curtis is he's down to Oregon and Georgia and will announce on May 5th. So keep your fingers crossed there. There was also a question about the quarterbacks in the YouTube chat. Dane, can you find it? I'll let you do that.
I didn't see the one you were talking about. So
okay, I'll see if I can find it here. I look for some of the ends in a question mark, I guess. Oh, maybe they deleted it. But somebody was asking, who would you rather have, Bentley or Jared Curtis? Oh, there you go. Yeah. Would y'all rather see Jared Curtis or Bo Bentley commit to Georgia?
I don't have enough. I think that'd be unfair to both these kids. I'd like to have either one of them.
There is not a downside to getting either one.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get one of them, that's for sure. But generational arm there on Curtis.
Hey, Adam J asked the question. Adam, I will tell you that I am biased because I've seen Jared in person twice and been blown away. So
I'm looking a little further down the line too. Look, Curtis is going to be incredible wherever he goes, but even in future years, Nussmeier's little brother that's in the recruiting process, I like what I've seen from him too.
Definitely. Nussmeier's definitely a kid from up in Gainesville. Good looking kid. Teddy Gerard, the nephew of Corey Phillips. I mean, he's a good player.
Well, it's funny how many guys are. I've always told people if you can give me the younger brother, or ideally the third younger brother, because just the way it works out, you have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Well, when you take the 10 and the 8-year-old, and they're at baseball or they're at football, the 6-year-old's trying to keep up, trying to run with them.
Yeah,
that athlete comes out to be the best of the bunch. It's like love the little brothers.
I never will forget when we Switzer and I were making the home visit for Mike Gundy, and he had a younger brother, Cale, who ended up going to OU and setting a lot of records. But you got to remember, Mike Gundy was getting recruited when we had Jamel Holloway, and we had a pretty good situation there. So it's hard to get Mike to come to Oklahoma. And when Cale answered the door, this is a kid in the 9th grade, and this is Barry the King Switzer on your doorstep, walking in to see your brother. And he says, I don't know why you're coming to see Mike. You need to be talking to me.
I mean, the swagger, the little brother swagger.
Switzer loved that. I mean, he said, and when we walked out, he said, is he any good? What do you know about him? I said, yeah, he's good. But I mean, that was pretty good by that kid.
Oh, I didn't realize this. Last note, Foster Moss says that outside linebacker from Army almost has the same measurables as Nolan Smith.
Yeah. Well, he looks like Nolan on the hoof and wingspan, though, man. Those arms. I mean, yeah. I tell you what, he definitely scratches ankles.
All right. Well, Coach, that's all the questions we got.
Got some good questions. I probably talked a little bit more than I expected to today, but I had to give you a little philosophy, but a little insight from Jay Christopher's there at breakfast. But
hey, I'm hoping that you can just get on that UGA billing plan over there. Just go to Jay Christopher's every morning and send the bill over to Josh.
Yeah, that would go in the wastebasket pretty quick. But hey, a couple of shout outs by me to the equestrian team national championship. Yeah. I mean, when you can win the national championship in any sport, you got to have the horses. But
damn it, set me up for that one, you bastard.
And also women's tennis win the SEC on the way, hopefully to a natty. Drake Bernstein on a roll here, man. I mean, he's been here 2 years, won 2 straight. And they won the year before when he was assistant. So women's tennis really rolling.
3 SEC titles against Texas A&M. Can't believe that. Got to get past those Aggies for the natty.
Well, they did Saturday.
That's what I'm saying. You beat them.
Or Sunday, whenever they played. But
last year they beat them, what, 3 times, 4 times?
And I would say this to people that are just a fan of sports. We're going to have the SEC softball championships here in 2 weeks out at Jack Turner Complex. And I'm telling you now, you got Texas A&M's ranked number 1 in the country. Texas is ranked number 2. Oklahoma's ranked number 3. Tennessee's ranked number 4. Georgia's got a good team, but they're ranked in the top 20. And all these teams are going to be, and then you got Alabama, Arkansas. I mean, I don't know if you like softball, but I'd encourage you to go because that's going to be unbelievable there. I mean, it'd be like the national championship playing here and hopefully Florida will come in here and not do good. But
I can see you over there.
It's unbelievable. You got four teams ranked 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's unreal.
I had the same reaction, Coach, of like Georgia's down there closer to 20, and Georgia's a good team. It's just the
Right.
SEC right now. It's wild.
Yeah.
The bad part about it, Tennessee's got a flamethrower pitcher, man. She threw it one time up there. They rated. She threw it 76 miles an hour. I mean, that's pretty strong now.
That's filthy. All right, so coaches will be over there watching Oklahoma take on Texas. He's looking for that draw, so he'll be there.
Hey, watch out for the dogs at home. We'll be good, but
Absolutely.
I'm just a sports fan. I can't help it.
I know. I'm just saying you got a couple loyalties there, and that as it should be.
I'll be pulling hard against Texas. I don't care who. I mean, if Texas and Florida played, I probably wouldn't go to the game.
Exactly. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for this week's show. We will see you next Tuesday at noon. Get your questions in, and we'll see you then.